Hey, listen, I think there's been a mistake. It says this chicken sandwich here is $19.95 plus tax.
That's right, sir.
Why so much?
Well, it was inspired by some chef you've never heard of, and our guarantee that it was made less than 6 weeks ago. Would you like a dill pickle from 1956?
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to the No Vacancy podcast. I, of course, am Glenn Hausman, and I'm looking forward to being here with you all of 2017 to deliver more horrible welcome lines like ahoy, ye mateys. I know I had a couple of weeks off at home. I spent a lot of time on my couch, and you think I would have recovered enough to think of something clever, but no. Absolutely not. So I'm very sorry about that, but I am looking forward to giving you great content all year long, every single Friday. Now, next week, I've got an awesome show. We got Anthony Melchiori all lined up from Hotel Impossible, and by the time you hear this, I should have an interview in the can with Raul Leal, and if you don't know who he is the CEO of Virgin Hotels. Now, their hotel in Chicago got picked as the #1 hotel in the country. So we're going to learn all about that. So great shows coming up, more interesting interviews that I can't reveal just yet, but I promise you they are going to be fantastic. Of course, I'd love to ask you to please give me 5 stars on iTunes, write a review, and do all of that other great stuff. Listen, you're sitting there in front of your computer right now, possibly. Take a moment. Just go ahead and do that for me. It would mean a lot to me. I know I didn't get any good holiday gifts this year. I'm not sure if that's because nobody likes me or what. Well, all right, nobody likes me, but that's not really an excuse. So if you want to give me a great post-holiday gift, a great way to celebrate 2017, I highly recommend you give me that 5-star rating on iTunes. We've got lots of exciting things that are going to be coming up, but for today, you know what? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the crabby side of life. Some of those things that really kind of aggravate me. And I'm talking about the types of people that you see at the hotel breakfast bar, right? So, I like taking my kids on vacations every once in a while, although this year I did a couch surfing tour of my living room and my den for the holiday season. But when I do go away, we stay in a lot of great hotels. And a lot of those hotels are of the select service nature. And they got that great complimentary breakfast bar downstairs. And I'd like to start off by saying to all of you brand folks that are listening to this right now, this is coming from me and all the other road warriors out there. Stop being so freaking stingy with the little itty-bitty shot-sized coffee cups. All right, listen, number one, they're made of styrofoam, which is kind of annoying and very 1970s and 1980s of you. But also, why do they have to be so small? We all like to drink a thimble, more than a thimble full of coffee in the morning, right? Listen, I know that you brand folks out there that are making these decisions are online at Starbucks right now listening to this, and you're getting something that is not a tall coffee. And I mean by tall, not the small coffee. You're getting the large or the super large, or if you're at 7-Eleven, you're getting a big gulp size thing of coffee. So why do you think that all of the people that are out there in your hotels trying to get up in the morning are going ahead and liking a little itty-bitty tiny cup of coffee? The coffee hardly costs you anything, and I guarantee you there's a lot of folks like me that go down to the breakfast bar and are forced to take 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee all at once back up to the room to enjoy, which means I'm using a lot more of that styrofoam, and you are paying for it. So come on, let's wisen up already. It's 2017. We're Americans. We love our coffee, and we need plenty of it. So do me a favor. Instead of introducing some sort of food that none of us are going to eat and make your franchisees pay for it, make them pay for larger coffee cups. We're all going to be happy. You're focusing on all this great coffee that you want out there. There's a lot of great brands out there right now going ahead and going and creating better, richer, darker roast coffees because we enjoy coffee so much. So why are you limiting us from having a full cup of coffee? Okay? All right, I'm getting a little too crazy for this. But listen, I've had my coffee this morning. I had a nice, giant size portion of coffee, which is why I'm so hepped up and excited talking to you today. All right, so let's get back to watching those families that are swarming the breakfast bar in good Earth-style plague format. It's hysterical. I'll be working down in the lobby When I'm on the family vacation, I'm never truly on vacation, and family likes to sleep in, and I like to head down to that breakfast bar earlier than everybody else and get some work done before it becomes too loud. And then all of a sudden, whoa! Everybody kind of swarms on in, good Earth style, plague-like, right? And it is too funny to watch what happens. So there's several different types of families that I've seen, and if I don't cover one of the types of families that you've observed in here, please send me an email at glenn@rouse, ROUSE.media. I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on this particular topic, and if I like them, let's share them on a later show. All right, so family number one, the loud family, right? Whether they're conscious about it or not, this family insists on being the center of attention. Unable to modulate, their only tones are loud and loudly screaming, kind of like I am to you right now. Meanwhile, we got these kids running amok everywhere while mom and dad yell at them for their bad behavior. Yet, it's the yelling that everybody hates out there, family, not your kids being kids. Well, most of us have kids. We don't really mind kids, although I will say, Jeff, who's editing the show right now, not a fan of kids, but I think you could probably get on board with this, that it's the folks that are yelling and screaming that are a pain in the neck, not the kids. And what about that messy family? I know hotel owners hate this kind of family, and me as a guest, I can't stand it either. This family has yet to learn how to eat like humans, right? They're caught somewhere between eating like a troglodyte and a happy, stupid dog. And they lose more food to the floor, tables, and walls than they manage to scarf down in their slack-jawed maws. Of course, they have a raging sense of entitlement, too, and feel no compunction to clean up after their awful mess. After all, they paid $59.95 a night, so let the hotel staff do it. We don't care. Let's just leave all our junk absolutely everywhere and make somebody else do our dirty work. I think that's offensive, it's rude, and it's just plain not nice. We all have to look out for each other here, and if you can't clean up after your children and yourselves, why should we? And then, of course, those people that are opposite like me, you know, I'm a big fan of putting on clothes to go downstairs, but there's the why get dressed family, of course. Those bedraggled group of lazy travelers, they never seem to realize they're in a public place, right? I know you know exactly who I'm talking about. Listen, we clearly understand the dining area is not an extension of the guest room. So why can't you, family that can't get dressed? This is not your private residence. You need to dress accordingly. I'm tired of you looking all schleppy and disheveled with your pajamas and your sweatpants that have holes in them and your hair going in 50 different directions that would make a great wig for Phil Spector. And that's all on display. All right. Maybe I should make a Donald Trump hair joke here, but I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to be respectful of government in 2017. So listen, if you want to have breakfast, do us all a favor. Have the decency to get dressed and at least pretend you care. I know you don't. I know you don't care, but I do. And just a little effort's going to show the world, you know, that you and your family are not a complete embarrassment to mankind. Not a complete embarrassment. I know you're still going to dress like that when you go to Walmart, but we're talking about your favorite select service hotel here. That's why we have the People of Walmart, you know, website that you can go check out. You can go star in if you'd like to do that. But no, when you're in a hotel, even if you're just coming down to get that little itty-bitty, teeny-tiny cup of coffee, I would really appreciate it if you would get dressed. And of course, another type of family, those food hoggers, right? Each family member grabs a plate, and then they pile it up like they're at the Golden Corral buffet, and they chow down as if they've never ever seen food before and will never ever see again. Guess what? You know, they feel this way. Hey, I got my food, it's free, and I'm going to eat as much as humanly possible, right? It's amazing to me that they don't just eat all of that food, and then they treat it like their own personal free grocery store and take all sorts of food with them when they go. I've seen families stuff 5, 6, 7, 10 bananas into their bag with all the other fruit, taking all of those cereal bars to eat later, and absolutely as much food as they can shove in their bags as possible. All right, so the final one that I want to talk to you guys about today are those absolutely annoying table savers, right? They're the ones that come down at 8:15 when the lobby is absolutely packed. I know all of you folks listening know that this is the time when pretty much everyone that's going to eat breakfast is going to be eating breakfast. So what do? This person sits at a table and saves their table for friends and family that have yet to show up and probably won't show up for a long time. So you got a lot of people standing around with food and plates standing over you. Nope. They don't care. They just sit there, hold a table, and look at the folks that have finally gotten their made fresh to order pancakes or waffles or omelets, and they have nowhere to eat it. Thanks for being so selfish. Thanks for thinking only you believe that only you matter and your family. Great job. I really compliment you on your awesome behavior. Okay, so I desperately would love to hear again from you guys. What kind of things piss you off about those families that you see at the breakfast bar? It doesn't have to be families. It could be weird individual behavior, anything. So drop me a note. Again, that name is Glenn at rouse.media, Glenn at ROUSE.media, and give me a shot. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, speaking of made-to-order omelets, I've got a great guy coming on the show that you're going to hear next. His name is Alan Roberts, and he's with Embassy Suites. He runs the entire brand, sets the tone for it, and he happens to be a really great guy. Now, the interview I recorded a few months back, so if there's a little bit of stuff in there that might seem outdated, at least you understand that's why. But, you know, it's so hard. I've got so many great interviews in the can that it's really hard to slot them all. Plus, quite frankly, I had some other Hilton guys on earlier this year, and I wanted to space it out and give all the other different companies a break. So, thanks again for listening. Stay tuned, because after this message, we got a great conversation with Alan Roberts of Embassy Suites. Have a great day. See you later. And ahoy, ye mateys. Help me out. Send me a better tagline. Thanks.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. You know, you're listening to this right now. That's right, right now. You're listening. But you're not the only one. Many others are too. So my question is, do you want to get noticed? Guess what? I can help you with that. Every single month, my content delivers more than 100,000 impressions. I know. I thought the same thing too. Now it's your time to get you or your product, service, or brand known by leveraging my network. I'll work with you to find creative solutions that are going to get your message to the ears and eyes that you need to attract. Just send me a note at glenn@rouse.media or find me on Twitter at travelingglenn. That's Glenn at rouse.media, ROUSE.MEDIA. And while we're at it, Glenn has got 2 N's. Thanks for listening, and now back to more great content. Roll into it. Finally found a nice air-conditioned spot here in Arizona, and you know, one of the things I love about doing this podcast is getting to talk to fun, interesting people. But not today. But today I'm with Alan Roberts.
Thanks, Glenn.
The newly named global head of Embassy Suites, but you've been kicking around Hilton and Embassy Suites for a really long time. Congratulations! Such a great promotion for you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it is really a great promotion. A lot of people put their faith in me, handed me an exceptional brand that I've been a part of now for 3.5 years, but like you said before that, I spent a number of years with the Hilton Garden Inn brand, about 9 years. So all in all, approaching year 14, I think it is, with Hilton right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure I even remember you working for another company. It's been so long.
It's been a long time. My history before that was small. I worked with a small management group out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Before that's and I eased my way into the Hilton world by becoming a general manager at one of their early Hilton Garden Inns in Charlotte. So that's how I got introduced to the brand performance support team with Hilton, Hilton Garden Inn back as they were expanding in the early 2000s, and then the rest of it's been from there. Before that, I had some experience with some other brands. I worked for Omni Hotels, worked for Holiday Inn, different franchising companies, different groups as I came up through the organization. But yeah, it's kind of nice to suddenly be in a place where I jokingly tell people I'm out from behind the curtain now. I'm the guy that everything falls on, and I'm the one that everybody's looking to from a responsibility standpoint for what I think is a truly iconic brand within the industry.
Yeah, I really love it, and my kids really love the brand itself. So what are your new responsibilities now out from behind the curtain? What exactly does a global head do?
That's a great question, Glenn.
Thank you. Very proud of myself. You know, I spent all weekend working that one up.
Well, let me hope I don't disappoint you with the answer. No, my primary responsibility is the strategic direction of the brand. I spend a lot of time in development, and I spend a lot of time with our innovation teams as we look to the direction of where the brand is going, where it is today, where do we want to see it go. As you know, the brand turned 30 2 years ago, and so we're a 32-year-old brand. It's coming through a cycle of life right now where we've got an opportunity to introduce some new elements, new concepts, and give it life for the next 30 years and make sure that it's as relevant as it has been since 1984.
Now, I could be completely wrong here, but you have something going on in Chicago with a new project? I could be, like I said, I could be completely wrong.
We don't in Chicago. We do in Manhattan.
Right.
Which is a brand new.
I've
which
heard
is
of that
yeah,
place.
which is yeah. I think maybe you might be familiar with that. Which is gonna be an awesome new addition. It's going to get us back into what I think is probably the greatest city in the world, and reintroduce the Embassy Suites brand to the travelers and global travelers that come into New York.
Well, I think you're a very wise man. As a New Yorker, I agree. It is the greatest city in the world.
I wouldn't say that to anybody else.
Right. I do love that place, but more lately I've enjoyed since I moved out from Manhattan and Brooklyn. I moved out to Long Island. It's been a much quieter life. So looking forward to hopefully when that property comes in, having an excuse to stay in New York City again.
I think you might know somebody. We can maybe see if we can help set that up for you.
I hope I know somebody. All right, so I got to be honest with you. I was a little bit worried about having you on the podcast today because, well, you know, your voice is just so smoky awesome that it was just going to give me too much competition. And, you know, I'm afraid either you're going to get your own show or maybe you could do like the new iteration of the Quiet Storm radio show.
That's not in the future. Maybe I could voice some kind of a superhero or something, but I'm not going to go into the podcast business. That would be good. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
If you could be a superhero, which one would it be?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Are you familiar with, this is going to go into the wrong place. Never mind.
I'll just say, yes, I am, and good choice.
Yeah, I'm trying to calm my smoky voice with a sip of water there.
So how many properties does Embassy have right now?
Embassy is at 228 plus. We've got a couple more that have opened since the formal numbers were out. We're going to hit. This is the beautiful thing. We've got over 40 hotels in the pipeline right now. Embassy Suites is going to hit 250 hotels at some point in 2018. It's not that far off. This year. We'll open about 10 hotels. Next year, I think it's 11 or 12, and that's going to put us into that realm in 2018. So it's an exciting time. We're starting to get big numbers. The past 3 years that I've been affiliated with Embassy Suites, our goal was to achieve 300 open-end pipeline combination, and we're getting closer and closer to that number. So I think in the foreseeable future, that is going to be a very real number. We're going to see this brand grow in the Caribbean, Latin America, China, the Middle East, which is where we've developed prototypes, and we're working with our development teams to get foothold in those areas.
That's going to be very interesting. Do you have to go to those regions on your own now?
Yeah, I'm planning a trip to Shanghai later this year. As a matter of fact, next week, I'll be heading into Mexico. We're going to go stay at the Hilton Mexico City Reforma, and we've got our development team has invitations out to over 400 potential investors from across Latin America and the Caribbean that are coming in for a Hilton development forum.
I think I went to a press trip once to that hotel.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool hotel. We do it there every year. We do this type of thing there every year, but it's outside of town a little bit. It's very modern looking, kind of sits up on a hill.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I had really good sweetbreads there.
Yeah.
That's what I took away from my trip. Yeah, and as long as you don't know what sweetbreads actually are, it's fantastic.
Right, as long as you don't think about what it is.
Right.
But the food and beverage experience at any Hilton Worldwide product is always going to be a fun event, right?
So being in charge of Embassy Suites, how do you make sure you don't eat too many of those great omelets?
You know, I have to test a lot of products, so I wouldn't say that I don't. I probably do eat too many of those omelets. it's a perk, right? And I really enjoy it. It's a great offering that we have for those. I mean, I know your listeners are pretty well educated, but for those that don't know, Embassy Suites does have a great full service, full complimentary cook to order breakfast in the morning that we offer all of our guests. It's unique to Embassy Suites. I think that Embassy is very unique in that it offers three things that nobody else has really come to do in a full service experience: 2-room suites, full cooked order breakfast, and then that evening complimentary reception that includes, where allowable, it includes alcoholic beverages for 2 hours each night. So there are other brands that have come along that have taken pieces and elements of that, either all suites or most everybody's doing some kind of a free breakfast now. But nobody's put all three of those together to really come to compete with us, and it leaves us in this really strong category-killing kind of a position and delivers for our owners, which is what's so iconic about it to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what you're talking about in terms of development, because you would, we were at this period where it's all just, focus service, but there's a lot more of these bigger hotels being built now. What do you attribute to the not it being a great brand, which you already know, but the financials behind it that are making people want to go towards this direction?
Yeah, the cool thing about it is it's a full service brand. It delivers full service returns as far as ADR goes, your RevPAR goes. Those are the kind of returns that we generate for owners, but it operates on what we've coined as a focused service model, or more of a select service type of service model. So you don't have the high cost of labor, you don't have the high cost of service that you get in a traditional full service hotel. And that's attractive to owners that have come up or have cut their teeth on the select service or focused service brands. Now their portfolios are large enough in their ownership structures that they're ready to step across that threshold and come into a full service hotel or to build a full service hotel in the markets that will support it, and it makes it easy for them to transition.
That's really interesting point of view, because I think the industry in the last 10 or 15 years has gotten significantly more sophisticated. And I'm seeing a lot of those owners that used to be content with, let's just say, a Hampton product, now wanting to make their mark and go up market with the product that they have.
Well, what it does is it allows them to get in, and this is where we're seeing a lot of our development happen, which is what's cool about it. It lets these owners get into markets or into places in markets they couldn't traditionally go, into urban markets, into adaptive reuse type of projects. We just opened up in Minneapolis downtown an adaptive reuse of an old, I believe it's an old bank building that they've renovated. And that's the thing, is that these adaptive reuse, it can be an old bank building, it can be an office building. Typically we don't see the old hotels come into that because they have to lose keys. So in an open kind of sense of floor plan, they can build out whatever they want to build out, and the Embassy Suites brand works very well in that for them. They understand the model, the service model. They understand, because we do operate like a focused service hotel, they understand how to staff to that, they understand how to do the P&Ls to that, they understand the kind of returns that we're going to deliver to that. So it's very attractive to them to come in and do that without all of the extra add-ons that they have to have if they're going to put in a full service convention meeting type of a hotel. And that's the other thing, we allow meeting space, we want you to have meeting space, but appropriate meeting space to whatever the location is that you're building in. So we don't require a large convention center meeting, thousands and thousands of square feet of meeting space.
Right. I guess it makes sense, because if you're outside Memphis somewhere, you may have a different meeting mix than if you're in the inner city somewhere.
Absolutely right. And in some of the secondary or tertiary cities where we're seeing a lot of this kind of urban adaptation happening, in a lot of cases there's not another real full service hotel in that downtown market, so it comes in and fits in a nice niche. And that's what these developers are seeing. They already operate in known markets. In a lot of cases it's their own backyards, and they're seeing these opportunities coming up, and they can buy the building at a song, they can buy the whatever the facility is, or even buy the lot, and then they can go up with our Design Option 3 hotel, which is the beauty of Design Option 3 is it's designed to be a kit of parts, so you can make it fit whatever piece of dirt you have or whatever building that you have, as long as you get the elements that we require.
Since I'm appealing to that road warrior audience, maybe explain a little bit about Design Option 3, what that really means in the sense of the experience that these guys have when they come to a hotel.
Right, yeah, no, we learned several years ago, actually before I even joined, I was still with Garden Inn at the time, we launched a prototype called Design Option 3, real creative. And what it was designed to give the developers a lesser cost building. The traditional big central atrium with the rivers and the trees and or guest rooms that overlook that space from the central atrium corridor, they're really inefficient to build. They cost a lot of money, and not many people can get them done, right? John Q. Hammonds was really good at getting them done because of his partnerships with local municipalities.
Right, John Q. Hammonds was a very famous hotelier that was a real staunch champion of the
Embassy
Suites brand, and I feel like he was the main driver for a lot of the growth for the brand for years.
He was an early on adopter of the brand and created this recipe where he, like I said, he partnered with local municipalities to get buildings built in locations that kind of weren't economically feasible without that partnership. And he drove that kind of relationship with cities and towns and was able to build a lot of large meeting space hotels. Did a great job, was a very staunch champion of Embassy Suites, but he built that traditional atrium style of hotel. Now we have design option 3, which is much more like a any other hotel design that you would see built today with a guest tower on the back side of the atrium, but you still have that sense of wow when you walk in. There's a central atrium that you walk into as you enter. It has, it's 2 to 3 stories high. It's got large space. It houses the breakfast area, it houses the bar, it houses the front desk area, it also is your entryway to the meeting space. So you still have that sense of wow and wonderment when you walk into an Embassy Suites. It's still that big atrium feel, but the guest rooms are on the back end of that with a couple of elevators or 4 elevators or whatever the prototype calls for that take you up to the guest floors, but then the guest floors are very traditional. Rooms on both sides of the hallway, storage on both ends of the buildings, and then that allows the housekeeping efficiencies to be there because they're much more cared for like a traditional hotel would be. You get efficiencies from the energy, you get efficiencies from just having everything in a much more compact area to service. So it allows them to operate the hotel in a way that new developers are familiar with and guests are familiar with it because it feels comfortable and new. And
yeah, and there is still something to be said about having that wow factor.
Absolutely.
When you walk in. And I think that a lot of the select service hotels out there that are trying to activate the lobby and stuff like that are trying to create that sense of energy that I think comes naturally with an Embassy Suites property.
Well, it does. It helps come naturally, and that's kind of what we're doing with the old, I've talked about the new properties. We've got the old properties, and what are we doing with those? They're great, but we're trying to activate that space and make it a place where people actually want to be. I mean, it's a standard. You can see it from anywhere in the hotel. You look down on that space, and if there's nobody down there, you're not going to want to go down there. So what we're doing is, through a program called Atrium Refresh, we are taking those older hotels as their license agreements expire. We're doing this organically. We haven't drawn a line in the sand yet with our owners and said, you've got to get it done by XYZ date. We're doing this as license agreements expire. Product improvement plans are issued with new license agreements, and everybody is re-upping at this point. We haven't had anybody that's not chosen to do that. That's a beautiful thing about an Embassy Suites. There's not really a lot else that it's going to become, and we perform well, so people want to stay in with us. So as we go through Atrium Refresh, we're activating that space, which is something you're hearing common across the organization.
Right, and you guys were doing it a good few years ago. We had one opportunity to hang out in Orlando together.
Yeah,
we saw
that's right.
a property owned by GF Management that did, I think, a really nice job at taking that 80s aesthetic and turning it into something very modern and a place that you want to be. So much so that you don't necessarily want to go to the theme park that day.
No, you're right. They were one of the really early adopters of Atrium Refresh as we had it designed. There were some hotels that were done prior to that kind of gave us inspiration on where we wanted it to go, but we went in and worked exclusively with them and sat with their designers and put them through our Atrium Refresh plan and program and let that inspiration work with them, and they nailed it out of the park. You're absolutely right. That was one of the great hotels that they got done. Matter of fact, today, Glenn, I just took advantage of being in Phoenix at the lodging conference. Went and toured the Embassy Suites Scottsdale Resort, which was an old Embassy Suites, left the system in the late 90s, was an independent hotel known as the Chaparral Suites up until this year. Earlier this year, we finished the renovation on that project and came out of it. The owner spent $25 million on the renovation of that hotel. It was a massive amount of renovation money. But the hotel's beautiful. I mean, I took a tour of it for the first time today and just kind of wandered through, and they took me through the guest rooms, which have this wonderful linen-y feel is the best way I can describe it. It just feels very comfortable. It smells good. They've changed out all the windows in there so that you don't get any outside noise. They've just done a fantastic job with it, and that's what it's about, right? They recreated their breakfast area, which is in the center of this outdoor. This is an outdoor atrium building, so it's even.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's even an older kind of prototype with those exterior corridors that we wouldn't do normally now, but we do those in certain locations where the temperate climate. Scottsdale is perfect for that.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like a certain brands, when they demand very specific things, are missing out on that unique opportunities to build properties that I think resonate better with guests, that are more memorable for setting the stage for experience.
You know, I totally agree with you on that. I think there are some great old buildings in this brand, and that's one of the things that I love about some of the adaptive reuses that we do out there, that our owners do out there, I should say. They're spending the money on this for us. But to throw some of those old buildings out, to me, just feels like it's kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because those great old buildings are what it's part of the spirit of what it is, right? It's kind of cool. It makes it cool to be there. I mean, this building that we're sitting in here was built in the not this building, but the hotel.
Where the Arizona built
right, was built in the 20s, I think it was, or maybe even before that. But it's just an old building that's got great bones and a great location. People want to come back to it over and over again. The same is true with any of these. So as long as they're updated and kept up and have the right, Wi-Fi and all of those things that we need today to be successful.
Yeah, I'm still not satisfied with a lot of Wi-Fi that I see out there.
I've heard your podcast.
Yeah. Good point. I think I'm going to do a whole new series of Glenn complaining about Wi-Fi. That'll just be
when you and David get on there together.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah. That's Dave Eisen, the editor-in-chief over at Hotel Management Magazine.
That's right.
He's one of my regular guests. Be sure you check out some of the catalog shows we have with him, and he'll be back. But you know what I find interesting? You talked about at the beginning of this conversation about getting in there and doing strategy.
Yeah.
And what is that all about? What are the kinds of things that you're thinking about?
There's three things that are really on my kind of strategy sheet right now. One is getting food and beverage right for Embassy Suites. Embassy Suites has had essentially the same food and beverage offering for 32 years. Really hasn't been changed drastically. There's been some Band-Aid things done here and there. But we need to really take a good look at it and say, is it in the right place for today's traveler? Is it going to set us up for success for the next 10, 15 years, right? Or do we need to really look hard at it? I think we really need to look hard at it. So we're doing that. We're partnered with some marketing research teams that are helping us out with doing some research with owners, with guests, with operators, to figure out what is it we need to do in not just breakfast, but in evening reception, catering sales or catering events,
right.
And as well as the full service restaurant feel, right? How do we bring that into the 21st century, and how do we make it successful for the rest of the
for the evening reception, just more free booze.
More free booze.
Then you don't have to do any research. I'll just send you an invoice for $10,000 for that little one.
Okay, there you go. Right, yeah. So, but we've just kind of kicked that off. As a matter of fact, we met with our owners advisory council a couple of weeks ago, and we put them through a 3-hour. Here's where our thoughts are. Here's what we're going through. We fed them a little booze. We fed them a little snacks. We kind of picked their brains around it. They shot some holes in it, which is what we want them to do.
Good.
That's what it's all about, right? They shot some holes in it. We sent our innovations team back with our partners, and now they're hard at work, kind of filling those holes and figuring out what we need to do next. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take the next 12 to 18 months to get everything put together and rolled out. We plan on rolling whatever we do with kind of in this order. It'll be evening reception first, it'll be breakfast next, and it'll be catering kind of events and stuff after that. So that's one of the kind of strategy things that I'm looking at down the road.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of learning that goes on with that, because we're learning a lot from like the kind of the craft beer and burger kind of thing that's going on out there. This whole movement around simple food done in a cool, slick way, and we're learning a lot of stuff about that. And that's my food. That's right where I like to eat. Right?
Yeah, I mean, again, my advice: double fry the French fries. Nice crispy exterior, soft, fluffy interior,
and have varieties, right?
Yes.
Sweet potato fries, French fries, all that kind of stuff.
All these burger chains that are popping up
Absolutely
right now. You know,
right.
I just had an onion haystack the other day.
That sounds really good.
Really good. I'd like to meet the people that name dishes. You know?
Yeah, that's true. They're all chefs, right? They're all real foodie people that have these ideas and come up with stuff. But it's a lot of fun, man. That is a lot of fun to be working in that kind of environment with those kind of people. A lot of creativity. Right?
Yeah.
It's not. I look at a lot of numbers. I look at a lot of charts and graphs, and to be in there where you're kind of really creating is a lot of fun. That's really cool stuff.
That is cool. So beyond
that, I've got the next thing that I'm really kind of looking at is our development pipeline. I told you we've got prototypes that we designed for China and Middle East. We actually have a deal signed in the Henan province of Boao, China, which is supposed to be opening in 2020-ish. We have one in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on King Fahd Road, which is in 2019. But where we seem to really be getting some traction right now is in the Caribbean, right? We have one deal in St. Thomas, one deal in St. Kitts. Both of those are going to open late 17, early 18, and then we just signed a deal in Aruba, which will be 19 or 20 when that gets done.
Are these going to be all more resort focused?
They are kind of resorty feel, not in the way that I don't know that they're necessarily going to all have spas and those kind of things.
Right. I was thinking more like access to the beach and outdoor things.
Yeah, the one in St. Thomas will not be beachside. It's actually got a beautiful vista overlooking everything, but it's not actually beachside. The one in St. Kitts will be. The one in Aruba, we just signed it. I've got to do a little more homework around that to understand exactly where it's going to be. But they are all that Caribbean kind of feel, right? They're just beautiful. And I think they're going to do really, really well, appealing to the kind of travel. Our leisure segment loves us for a reason. 2 rooms. We can put the kids here. We can, or even just separating the day from night. It's just an exciting thing to be in there. That's why we're going to the development conference in Latin America next week. Is we have some growing interest in Mexico. If we can get back into Mexico City, I think that's the gateway to South America for us. We have a very interested owner down there that's talking around 5 different deals around Mexico right now. So I'm excited about that.
That's pretty cool.
So that's kind of development. We've got one of the greatest pipelines in North America from a full service perspective, with over 48 hotels right now in our pipeline in North America. So working with our development team to make sure that we fine tune the prototype in a way that keeps it selling is really what I have to do with North America, but getting traction in Latin America outside of some of the known cities, just really pushing it down through the countries, and getting traction in China right now are big targets.
So how active are you in that process, or is it more of the development team and then you're liaising with them?
I'm liaising with them, but I'm going where they need me to go to talk to owners, to help them, to market, to kiss babies and shake hands and do all of that kind of thing. But I'm also an educator, because
I prefer shaking babies and kissing hands. But that got me in a little bit of trouble with it.
You almost got that from me. I almost said that. The thing with it is I'm educating our developers, because our developers have been selling the brands that they've been selling in those countries, and that's what they know. Yeah. Embassy is very different. They don't know why Embassy, the same things we talked about earlier, that makes it attractive to owners here. They don't know that, so I have to go in and tell them about the model that we have from a service perspective, and why things are inclusive, and all of that kind of piece of it. You go in and give them the sales pitch. They get it real quick. They are smart people. They understand it. They hit the ground running with it, and then we help support that. So that's kind of what my goal is right now.
You talk about cultural differences a little bit, so I have to bring up the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which I've never actually called it before, but I think it sounds pretty cool.
KSA.
Yeah. You have this prototype, but I can't imagine a typical prototype would work when it's so significantly different.
It's significantly American, and we can't just drive that there and expect it to work. We have to make some modifications.
Although American hubris will tell you differently.
It will. You're exactly right. What we've designed for the Middle East and for the MEAP, Middle East Asia Pacific, is a prototype, very prototypical looking building. Square footage wise on the rooms, I think they're 450, 480, 2 rooms side by side, shotgun suites. It's all there, right? All of those elements that we have are relevant in the building and the bones. What's a little bit different is what we were going to do from a food and beverage perspective, and that is breakfast. At this point, is not going to be complimentary. We're going to be playing in a tier in China, Asia specifically, that's going to be upper 4 or 5 star kind of a tier. And our research in that part of the country, our developers in that part of the country have told us that the traveler that comes to those types of hotels, complimentary breakfast is not expected, nor is it appreciated. So having breakfast, and we will have a Western version of a menu, we will have an Eastern version of a menu. We're going to play to that. Then the evening reception will not include alcohol. It will be some kind of a local design, some local beverage, and it will be food, snacks, that kind of thing, but it won't include alcohol, which addresses some of the concerns in Saudi Arabia.
Well, you lost me. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can handle that.
I'm sorry,
but I get it. And when you talk about China, that makes a lot of sense. That you need to have all of those restaurants. And I speak to some of the executives from the other brands, and there's one particular company that doesn't have restaurants here in the United States with their hotels, but one project they're doing has 7. Wow. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Would we allow something like that? I would be up to the developer. I would highly encourage highly discourage a developer from doing something like that, because
I don't get it myself.
I don't either. That just feels like you need more seats, more tables, more turns, right? That feels really more than I'd want to have to manage as a property manager.
Right. When I was at a breakfast in China once, they actually had gruel. Like, I thought that was something that was made up.
Gruel?
Yeah.
They had a sign on the fence, gruel?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
I won't have gruel.
Yeah.
It won't be on the menu.
Some sort of sloppy, liquidy, viscousy thing. I don't know. I don't know what
badly done cream of wheat.
Right. All right. So, wrapping up here, I'm loving what you guys are doing with with the brand. But I want to know how you got involved in the hospitality industry to begin with, and how did it lead you down this path to being an executive at a big company?
Man, I've been in the hospitality industry since I was 16 years old. My first job, first real paying job where I had to like provide my social security number and get a real paycheck was I worked at a Burger King. So
nice. I was a Wendy's guy.
And
I don't like to brag, but I made fries really, really good.
I started off washing pots and pans, and then within a week I was on the broiler.
Nice.
I was working the broiler, and then somewhere a month or so they had me on the drive-thru, and I was working the drive-thru. And after about 8 months of that, I was like, I had it, I'm done.
I got promoted to drive-thru burger guy. Yeah, right. So I just loved having that big slick grill and having 50 burgers on there.
Tough business, man. That is a tough business. They make a lot of money in it. The franchisees do.
Hey, I made $6.25 an hour, and
I think I was right in there.
1989.
Yeah, I think I was at $4.85 or whatever it was an hour.
Yeah, my first paid job I think was $3.35 an hour. It was minimum wage. It's like we'd like to pay you less, but
we can't.
We're not allowed to.
Yeah, exactly right. But that was my first like real job. And my dad, I grew up in a little town in North Carolina, in Pinehurst, North Carolina. My dad knew the local. He was the owner-operator of the local Sheraton, and my dad was in the banking industry, so he knew him through that. And he was the operator, he was the GM in partnership with a bunch of lawyers and doctors in the same area that all owned the hotel. And he told my dad that he had an opening as a porter, which we would call a houseman today. And my dad knew how miserable I was.
A lot of people call me that too.
Yeah, sorry. But I'm pumped. So anyway, my dad said, he came home one night from work and he said, hey, I talked to Don Calfee, and Don said, he's got this position open as a porter, and he said, would you like to go talk to him? I said, sure. And I went down and talked to the guy, and that was it. I started working in high school and after school as a porter, and went to, what I did is I came in the afternoon, and they gave me a list of paper, which included clean this, clean that, clean this, clean that, set this meeting room, do this, do the other. And whenever I was done, I went home, and if it took me 8 hours, great. It took me 4 hours, whatever. I got done. I did that all the way through high school, and then went to college and worked a front desk in college. I just kind of liked the industry. Then found out, oh my God, you can actually do this for a career, and it just kind of went from there. I got my degree from Appalachian State University, and a business degree with a hospitality major, and went from there.
That's pretty awesome. So what kind of advice would you give folks that are interested in making this career?
Don't. No.
Yeah. Well, come on. You've got yourself a nice job. I don't think these kids are going to steal it from you.
I'm just kidding. It's a great career. It's a great industry. But, it doesn't come without earning your stripes a little bit, right? You have to kind of work your way in. You have to figure out what you want to do. The nice thing about our industry, and you know this, I mean, you're the same age as I am. We've seen it change a lot, right?
29.
Yeah, right? Years in the business. It's expand. I mean, it's changed so much. It's when I came out of college, all I wanted to be was a GM. But now, you got franchising companies, you got management companies, you've got ownership groups, you've got asset management positions, you got marketing positions. I mean, there's all these things that you can do that I didn't even know about when I was working.
Well, because you were kind of probably thinking GM is as far as
that's
you can go.
what you did, right? That's what I thought then, and then you kind of go beyond that. So, work in the industry a little bit, understand a little bit, read your articles, right? And listen to your podcasts.
Thank you for the plug, and I did not pay him for that. Read them every twice a week at hotelmanagement.net.
But that's it, right? That's the kind of thing is get educated and understand a broader awareness of what this industry is about and what it really means, because it doesn't just mean running a hotel, right? It can be anything in between. So.
And that's the thing that I love about this business. Yep. Virtually, no matter what your good skill is and what your passion is, it'll come into this business.
That's so right. You can find it. That's so right.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with a lot of great, public relations people, sales and marketing people, branding folks, operations people, food and beverage people. It's really pretty limitless.
Yeah, it is. It totally is. And I see there's another generation coming in now in the corporate offices. I see them coming in and learning and doing what they do. And it's exciting, right? Because it's just our industry is growing exponentially, and I think it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to be one of the leading job creators in our country or in the globe, right? It's a global industry of huge magnitude, and it's just going to continue to go that way as we continue to travel and as the population continues to grow, and as China gets the middle class in China begins to be able to travel more and more, it's just going to get more and more important.
Yeah, it's going to be really fantastic. And if you want to aspire to be a GM, and you can travel all over the world and get different assignments and cool places.
That's very true. Yeah, you have to be willing to do all of that stuff, right? And pick up boots and go. But so do it young, do it while you can, and that's an incredible.
Although I feel like if you have an Austrian accent, you're going to be a lot more successful.
Or English,
right?
Or South African, or
everyone takes those guys more seriously.
I totally agree.
Nobody here wants to hear from me when I'm talking Brooklyn
and
stuff
totally
like that.
Agree. That's what, my whole goal coming in to talk to you today, I told you I'm from North Carolina, was just to not sound like a hick.
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to do.
Well, golly.
That's exactly right.
Exactly, Alan. Any final thoughts?
No, I just want to kind of, I've talked all about Embassy Suites, and I just wanted to real quick add on here for you. And we've talked about, I know you've talked a little bit about some of my counterparts with the All Suites division, but it's really in a cool place right now. Embassy Suites is a part of the All Suites division of Hilton Worldwide, so that we're partnered with our friends from Homewood Suites and from Home 2. So we fill the void kind of from mid-scale up through upper upscale with an all suites offerings that are out there. And we're the first company, Hilton is the first company to really see and harness that kind of group into one division. We're 750 hotels open strong now across those three brands.
Wow.
It's phenomenal. And next year, Home 2 is going to open another 100-ish.
Yep, they just got to 100.
Yeah, they just got to 100, and they're going to double next year.
That's insane.
That's crazy, isn't it? And then Homewood has passed 400 this year. They're going to open another 40 to 50 next year.
I really like those hotels too.
They're great. And then we've got we hit 230. Like I said, we're going to open another 10 or 12 next year as well. And the brand is just this division is just going to continue to build momentum and strength. It's just a really exciting time to be a part of something like that. And I just want your listeners that haven't experienced one of those brands to try them out. I stayed at my first Home 2 a few weeks ago. We did an immersion exercise. Homewood I'm familiar with, Embassy obviously. I hadn't stayed with a Home 2, so I went and stayed in San Antonio and kind of worked with the team down there in San Antonio to kind of understand what the Home 2 brand is about. And that is a cool little brand.
I haven't stayed in one. The last time I had any interaction from the brand was the testing rooms in the Memphis offices.
Oh, right, when they were building them all out.
Yeah.
It's a very cool concept. I mean, I got to admit, I really like what they're doing with that brand. And for a weekend getaway, or even for, if I was staying for a week in a location, that would be great because it gives you the extra room, gives you the extra space.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Is the San Antonio property near the convention center area?
It's about a block off the Riverwalk. It's not really. It's not really next door to it. It's in the same vicinity.
Well, it's in the same vicinity. I mean, walking distance.
Yeah. You can walk.
Because I'm going on a trip there next spring.
Yeah, and it's an adaptive reuse building too. I think it was an old warehouse, I think is what that one was. But it's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they did.
All right, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Okay.
So, Alan, any more shameless plugs that you want to make?
No, just real quick. www.embassysuites.com. Come check out Embassy Suites and all of our new locations if you want to stay or come play. And then for those of you that are interested in developing with us, be sure to go to www.hiltondevelopment.com. I could give you my phone number, but I don't think anybody uses those either. So.
Right? Yeah. So what's a phone number? I think I made a joke on the show with Rick about not even knowing what a telephone is. Right? It's been so long. I've got a texting device.
But you can email me if you want to email me at alan.roberts@hilton.com, and I'll be happy to pass along the comments, the thoughts. We'll take them into consideration with whatever we're doing and the work I'm doing around the brand. If you're interested in development, I'll be sure to send it across and get the development team to reach out to you. So
great. Well, thanks so much for listening. And guys, if you want to reach out to me, remember it's glenn@rouse.media, or find me on Twitter and Instagram @travelingglenn. And I had a great time talking to Alan today, and I want to thank you guys all for listening. And hey, give me that 5-star rating on iTunes, please. Remember, you're not paying for this show. I need to make my mama proud. Give me those ratings, because really that's how my mom judges me, by my rating on iTunes, which is really quite sad, Alan.
I did, by the way, do that, and I tried to go back and do it again. I couldn't do it again.
If everyone in your family has got a different account, just go ahead and
do that.
And do that. And for everyone here sitting here, please do that as well. I want to thank you all again for listening, and I'll be back next week, unless I decide to go and be a houseman at a Embassy Suites.
Nice. Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter @travelingglenn, and on facebook.com/glenn.hausman. We'll catch you next time.